He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi a better place to live, work, and play. We've got a great show today. We're going to be talking with Clay Williams from the airport and Robbie D'Angelo, an author, a fitness trainer, and someone who really understands how to motivate people. I look forward to that. He's been a regular on the show. We're going to be talking to him in the second segment. But before we turn to Clay at the airport, I want to just say a couple things. We've had a great show this week. This is National Travel and Tourism Week. Tourism in Mississippi is number 4. On the coast, it's number 2 in terms of industries. So it cannot be more important for us as we begin to turn the volume up. Remember, I've said it a million times, there's not a light switch. We're going to turn the volume up slowly. The virus is still here. We still have to practice social distancing. We still have to wear a face mask when we're in public. We still have to protect the vulnerable. All those things are true. But what you've heard in all of these conversations is that we have an opportunity to send the message to the rest of the world that coastal Mississippi and Mississippi in general is a great place to visit. It's a safe place to visit. We had Rob Stinson on, the restaurateur from coastal Mississippi, has a show on PBS, Fit to Eat. He had so much good to say about the process that they're going through to ensure that he opens his restaurants with safety in mind, and he's looking forward to reopening. We had Craig Ray from Visit Mississippi. He's that's the division of the Mississippi Development Association that's focused on tourism. And Craig Ray talked in depth about how lucky we are to have things like the Mississippi Gulf Coast, our beach, the Blues Trail, and other important aspects of this state that really give people the opportunity to come here and visit, enjoy some incredible history and some incredible culture, and also have a safe vacation. And then we had Steve Azar. What a great conversation that was. Steve is a recording artist. He's gone full circle in his career. He's back in Greenville, doing incredible things. If you haven't seen the documentary, Something in the Water, I would really encourage you to look it up. I found it on Go USA app. I just downloaded the app. It was free. He said that he's actually going to be posting it on his YouTube channel. But Steve is such a passionate Mississippian. He's the ambassador of music and culture here in Mississippi, and works really closely with Visit Mississippi. And I couldn't think of a better advocate to have than him as we really focus on this incredible history we have here in the music and blues history. What a great conversation that was. One of the big news items over the last couple of days is the governor and the lieutenant governor and the Speaker of the House coming together and agreeing that the legislature and the executive branch of our government will work together to find out how we could best use the money that's coming down from the federal government. I couldn't tell you how pleased I was to see this. I was critical of all three of them. They all three were not communicating very well. And at a time when we have a disaster like we're dealing with now, unprecedented in our history, the governor needs the support of everyone, and he's got to communicate as much as the speaker and the lieutenant governor have to communicate. But it's great to see them on the same page. Delbert Holzman told Paul Gallo that they are going to have lunch together next Tuesday at the governor's mansion, and this is going to be, I think, a huge step in the right direction. That number one, they're going to be working together, and number two, they're going to be communicating. We need that. I mean, if Haley Barbour had to deal with division and lack of communication and people going off on their own track after Katrina, it would have been so difficult for us to recover. So I'm glad to see they're all on the same wavelength now, and hopefully they'll stay that way, and we can stay focused on helping the people of Mississippi at a time when we need it the most. So let me turn now to my friend Clay Williams, who's the executive director of the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. Clay, last time we talked was about 5 weeks ago, man. It's great to see you. I bet it's been busy 5 weeks for you, hasn't it?
It has been. It's an unusual time, but I enjoyed visiting with you then on your show and appreciate you having me back today.
Well, you were like one of the last people that I had in my studio. If you remember, we didn't shake hands and we practiced social distancing, but it was becoming really clear to us around that time that we had to go to a different approach to the show. You can see I'm actually in my fishing closet. This is what we call this at my house. It's a room where I put my fishing and hunting stuff. But I'm here because we had to plug directly into the modem because Wi-Fi's in people's homes aren't ready,
Sure.
weren't built. The infrastructure wasn't built for everybody to be home at the same time. So, we're all adjusting and we're finding ways to do this show remotely and talk to people like you who are on the front line every day trying to fight our way through this so that we can find what our new normal is going to look like until we get a vaccine. And I know you guys have been deep, deep, deep in understanding all of that. So why don't you bring us up to date? What's the latest at the airport?
Well, Ricky, there's not a segment of the economy that hasn't been impacted by this, and most have been impacted extremely negatively. If you think about the aviation industry, travel industry in particular, it's been very, very hard hit. You've got stay-at-home orders, you have safer-at-home orders, you have the risk of potentially being quarantined when you get to a destination. So a lot of uncertainty. So really, any travel that's taking place right now is essential or critical. I mean, it's someone that has to go somewhere, maybe for a healthcare purpose. Maybe they have a death in the family or a very sick loved one, or potentially somebody that has a sensitive security mission. Or so really, again, it's critical and it's essential travel. We've been open this entire time at Gulfport-Biloxi Airport. I really can't thank the frontline staff enough. I mean, they've done great work. I mean, if you think about TSA, you think about those that are working at the airline ticket counters and the rental car counters here at the airport. You think about our maintenance and custodial teams and everyone really that makes the airport function and operate on a day-to-day basis. Really want to applaud them for what it is that they've been doing. We're, as I mentioned, Ricky, the airport is operating, albeit at a reduced rate or capacity. If you think about it, we had approximately 1,000 to 1,100 passengers a day flying out of this airport. What we've seen as of late is really it's ranged quite a bit, but on average 100 people a day. So dramatic drop in travel because of those things that I just mentioned earlier, the safer at home policies, the stay at home, and the quarantining when you arrive in certain places, not to mention amenities being closed if you were to travel to another destination.
So tell me about what's the normal. It's 100 average of 100 per day. So what's the normal?
So normal day would be anywhere from 1,000 to 1,100, and a typical day here at the airport would be 15 to 16 flights departing a day. And in this time, under the COVID-19 situation, you've got 4 to 6 flights a day going out. Delta is still flying to Atlanta. American is still flying Charlotte and Dallas. And then you've got United Airlines still flying to Houston, just at a reduced capacity.
Wow, it's an amazing moment. And as you shared with me when we had our Coast Vue session together, we had you had some of your best months: January, February, March, and then here we are. So it's an amazing turn of events.
If you think back, Ricky, pre-COVID-19, so 3 consecutive years, we had a 7% increase in traffic at Gulfport-Biloxi. We had an 11% increase in traffic. We had a 6% increase in traffic. So those were the previous 3 years. Let's look at 2020. You look at 2020, February of 2020, we were up 20% on a month-over-month comparison over February of 2019, and we were up 14% year to date. So really, the coast economy was doing very well. The air traffic here at the airport doing very well, had the addition of some new routes. And then shortly after I did your show, within a matter of days, we saw great traffic the first portion of March, and then it really dropped off let's just say around March 16th, 17th time period.
That's really an amazing turn of events. So, what are you hearing from the airlines? I was telling you before the show, I looked at the various airlines. Some are from in terms of how they're communicating with the street, are being extremely conservative about how they view how the startup's going to be. Others, like Air France, I mentioned to you, they're projecting a 60% capacity recovery by year's end. So you've got a wide range of projections that are out there right now. So what are the kind of things that you're hearing?
So in speaking with the airlines and also talking with other airports, everybody realizes that air travel will come back. I mean, people want to travel. It's just really in our DNA as individuals. We like to explore and see new things and go visit family and friends. So it will rebound. That rebound's going to, and it's going to take time. If you look at the airlines,
Hey, Clay, let's do this. We're going to pick it up. It will rebound. Let's do this. We're going to go to break, and after we get back from break, we're going to continue our conversation with Clay Williams, the Executive Director for the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. We'll be back after this break.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Clay Williams, who's the Executive Director for the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. Clay, you were before we went to break, we were just beginning to talk about what you're hearing from the airlines, projections, and whatever. Why don't you just kind of pick it up from there?
Sure. Well, the airlines, they've had to make significant adjustments to contend with the COVID-19 crisis. If you think about 9/11, you think about the economic recession, maybe some of the other SARS viruses and other incidents that have impacted air travel, airline officials will tell you, you combine all of those events together, and this is significantly worse than all combined. And so they've made significant adjustments. I mean, they're projected that they're going to have a loss of $314 billion for 2020. They've parked over half of their fleet. I mean, you've got 3,000 plus aircraft parked around the country that are currently not being utilized. So they've certainly had to take some drastic measures, and what they've done is they've reduced capacity significantly, upwards of 90%. In some cases, anywhere from 70 to 90. It just depends on the air carrier. They've reduced frequency in markets, and they're what they're trying to do is get to a situation where there will be a ramp up. As I was mentioning before the break, people do want to travel. They will have to travel at some point, but they're going to. It's going to take a few things to really make this happen. One is some of the steps that the airlines are currently taking. I mean, they're doing their due diligence in cleaning aircraft. I mean, they're doing electrostatic cleaning and fogging and making sure that they're doing that enhanced sanitation after every flight. In addition to that, they're reducing or suspending in-flight meals and beverages to some extent. They're not selling the middle seat in some cases. With the demand what it is now, they're able to spread people out and have them distant from one another on the plane. But they're adjusting and they're evolving. Same here at the airport. I mean, anyone that's flying American, Delta, or United now currently are being required to wear a face covering or a mask. The airline employees and others are doing the same. And so again, it's evolving. It's on a day-by-day basis. But two critical elements that will really impact the travel and tourism industry will be a medical therapy or remedy that gets discovered or a vaccine. I was noticing this week that they were beginning to test a vaccine on humans. And so if you look at those two elements from a health and well-being standpoint, that really will dictate the speed of the recovery.
So it's been so interesting. We're moving, it seems to me, in the direction of some kind of modified Sweden model where people are going to go out, but they're going to protect themselves. Sweden didn't necessarily take this approach. And Dr. Nicholas Konder, who is an infectious disease doctor at Memorial, said that it's essentially Sweden on steroids, Sweden with social distancing and a face mask. And that what's going to happen is we'll continue to work on herd immunity. He says we got to get to about 60% before we can really begin to push the disease down. But what that means is that we have to be unbelievably diligent in protecting the vulnerable. So it doesn't mean you can go out and practice, unsafe life and then come back home and be around people who are vulnerable. So it's a really, really important part of all this. But coming back to some of the things you talked about, like the middle seat, for example, I see that there was actually a story today that talked about for us not to get too giddy. That people kind of like getting on those airplanes when no one's sitting in the middle seat. Certainly, they're going to have to go to those kind of efforts to keep people safe. But I would say as soon as we're able to not have to do that anymore, in other words, we either have a vaccine or something else has occurred, that their business model is based on filling those airplanes up. And unless something like that, something changes that, we should all pray that we can go back to normal in that way. Isn't that right, Clay?
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about the airline industry in recent years, they have increased the number of seats on airplanes, and their business model, if they factor in the cost for their flight crews and they factor in the cost for fuel, I mean, they have, that's all very strategic and measured. And I mean, you're going, from 100% capacity when you start reducing the middle seat down to 65% in some instances. And so really over time, not a sustainable business model. So there again, it's evolving, as I mentioned, on a day-to-day basis, some of the procedures and processes that the carriers are undertaking. But again, like you say, it shouldn't hopefully be here for the long term. You want to see full aircraft with all seats full.
Yeah, you do. That'd be good for us. That would mean that visitors are coming to coastal Mississippi. I had a great conversation with Alan Baker. You may know Alan. He's from Gulfport, flies out of Houston for United Airlines, been with them for many years. And he shared his story, what flying for him has been like. And I was really impressed with how careful they're being. He shares what some of his concerns are. But at the end of the day, there's tremendous focus on making sure that the trip you take, if you choose to fly, is as safe as it possibly can be. And I think they're going to continue to be focused in that way. Anything else you want to add? How's your employees doing?
Oh, everybody's doing well. We can't brag on them enough. Everybody's been very resilient through this. A number of the employees that are here at the airport experienced Hurricane Katrina and recovered very, very well from that. And this is unique and unusual, but everybody is really pulled together. All the respective airport tenants have. When we really look, Ricky, the key to the recovery here in this industry is, how important is Gulfport-Biloxi and coastal Mississippi to the airline network and for connectivity purposes through their hubs. I mean, we have a great market here. We have defense contractors, military installations, a robust tourism industry driven by gaming here. So we really want to be sure that we continue to set ourselves apart. And the way as South Mississippians that we can do that is as this recovery takes place. And as I mentioned, it will be slow and there's going to be a very diligent ramp up. But South Mississippians, we need them to utilize Gulfport-Biloxi Airport. I mean, that's the importance, is how do you make yourself relevant to the carriers? You don't do that when you're flying out of New Orleans or flying out of other out-of-state offerings. So if we can do it and keep people home and utilizing the convenient and easy product that we have, certainly want to encourage them to do that.
Well, Clay, you actually make a good point. I think what's going to happen is that people, whether it's people coming here or people who are traveling from here to go other places, whether it be for work or for leisure, that they all want the same thing right now. They want some assurance that that all protective measures are put in place. I mean, we've talked about this repeatedly on the show that in coastal Mississippi, we have an opportunity to create a competitive advantage for ourselves because you can go out on the beach and you can spread out. The casino industry is working with other casinos around the world, focusing on how do they reopen in a way that's safe. The experience will be different, but at least we don't have visitors worrying about have they put all protective measures in place. Same thing goes for restaurants, and I could go on, but one of the incredible competitive advantages we're going to have is the ability to be unified in that message that we're going to do everything to make sure people have a safe trip. Same thing is true for the airport, that people, when they fly out of Gulfport Airport, they want to know that everything that has been done, should be done, has been done, and we can have a safe vacation. That way they don't have to go over to New Orleans and take a chance, or go over to Mobile and take a chance. They know Gulfport's done what needed to be done. Isn't that true?
That is true, and we've been doing that, for many years in terms of ensuring a safe and sanitary environment. But hats off to our custodial team here. They're doing extra due diligence in cleaning the high touch point areas. As I noted, airlines and their employees requiring masks, the employees wearing the same in the terminal facility, and so. It is. It's this. We're fortunate that we've got a good product here. We've got something that we can sell to air carriers and to other visitors that want to come to our market. And I think, as you mentioned, Ricky, having a strategic plan and vision and everyone singing from the same sheet of music is incredibly important.
Well, it's been awesome seeing it from Craig Ray to the Mississippi Tourism Association to Milton Segura to Linda Hornsby to the gaming industry. They're all focused on this reality, create a competitive advantage for coastal Mississippi. Clay, it's been great to talk to you, man. Good to catch up. I know these are not easy days for people on the front line like yourself and your team, but you're essential business. You're doing what has to be done, and you're going to continue to do that. And I appreciate your leadership. We'll come back to you in a couple of weeks and check in with you and see how things are going.
Please do, Ricky. Thanks for having me on the show, and want to thank all South Mississippians who support this airport. So thank you so much.
Yeah. You bet, buddy. And we'll continue to kind of ring that bell for you. Take care.
Thank you, Ricky.
You bet. We'll be back in a second with Robbie D'Angelo.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.